Hi, my name is Paul, and this is Along the Way Ministries. And I am here again this week without my lovely wife, Lynn. We're dealing with a couple of topics for about a 3 week period in which our spouse may not have as much input into pastoral ministry as a lot of the other topics that we are typically dealing with. Today, I would like to talk with you briefly about enjoying your board meetings. And this can be a challenge. And every church is very different, and I'm very aware of that. But a lot of the dynamics that we all face in board meetings are shared, no matter what your church setting might look like. This is a part one on enjoying your board meetings. We'll come back to this topic again. But for today, here are a few things I would suggest, some tips I would offer in how to make your board meeting an enjoyable and productive experience. Number one, the first tip here is consistency. Have a schedule for your board meetings and keep to the schedule. Communicate changes to that schedule early and don't make changes to that schedule lightly. It becomes very difficult for people to want to come to meetings when the time keeps changing, the location keeps changing, the day of the week keeps changing. It helps people plan to know that on a certain day, at a certain time, in a certain place, you'll always be meeting, and that if that has to change, that they know they'll get notice well in advance. It helps show them respect as well as keeping some flow. Uh, Number two, under this first part about enjoying your ministry, second tip would be uh, have an agenda. Uh, don't just wing your board meetings. Use an agenda. Have one and use it. Make sure everybody gets one. The agenda is there not as the Ten Commandments, but just to help keep everybody on track. It's especially useful not only in making sure that you don't miss certain items of business that need to be handled, but it's useful for your board members just to visually be able to track how you're progressing through the meeting. It gives them a sense that, oh, we're halfway done, we're three-quarters of the way done, we're almost done. So an agenda is helpful in that respect as well. Uh, it also helps your secretary, whoever's taking notes of your board meeting, it helps your secretary to keep minutes. They can use that agenda as a template for the discussion that's going on. So keep your agenda simple. A half sheet is often enough. It's something that should be very repeatable. And we can talk more about agendas another time, but have an agenda, use the agenda. And our third tip has to do with time. Uh, Board meetings, especially church board meetings, I don't know what it is that drives this. Um, I do know a little bit, but board meetings often drag on unnecessarily long. Uh, I've been to board meetings where they've gone 3 hours, 4 hours, where you start at 7 o'clock at night and you're not out of there till 11 o'clock or later. And that's just brutal. It's brutal on you. It's really brutal on those who volunteer their time uh, to be leaders in the church and to attend these board meetings. Typically, they've got to get up early the next morning, go to work. They've got families and children, and that's just really asking a lot. So here are some suggestions in terms of your time limit on your board meetings. First of all, start on time. Be very consistent about that. If you set the practice of starting on time and you have people who are typically late, uh, then either they are going to figure out that they're going to miss part of the board meeting if they're not there on time and adjust themselves if possible, uh, or else they're going to figure out that this may not be the best uh, use of their time, and they may tell you so, that they just can't make it there at such a time. In which case, if everybody agrees on your board, you adjust the time accordingly, or perhaps it's just not appropriate for that person to serve on the board at that particular time. So start on time. Another suggestion under time limit is aim to keep your board meeting at 2 hours. We do that and have done that now for many, many years. It works wonderfully well. There was a sigh of relief when I brought that to the church board where I currently serve. They didn't see how it'd be possible, but it was a sigh of relief. We're going to end at 9 o'clock. We'll begin at 7, we'll end at 9. And the only thing that will keep us past that hour is if we all vote and approve extending the time in order to deal with some critical topic. Otherwise, we're done at 9. Well, what do you do with business matters that aren't accomplished in that time? Well, you table it. And as the chairperson, most of you as pastors serve as chair, but if not, you work with your chair and you make sure that the chair has the right and the privilege to adjust the agenda so you deal with the most important items first. And things that can't get handled in an appropriate amount of time, you table it. Rather than rush it and try and squeeze it under the line, table it. Use the time in between meetings to pray. And if there is a time element, if it's time sensitive topics, you've got email, you've got Zoom in most cases. And if not, you may need to meet for a special meeting to handle something. But usually that's not the case. Usually, if you prioritize what's on the agenda for that meeting and you handle the most important things first, what's left normally can be tabled. And often it is a good thing if you table it. And then finally, under enjoying your board meetings, seek unanimity. Seek to be unanimous in your decisions. I understand that most of us have a majority vote process, which is entirely appropriate. But seek unanimity. You're not always going to get it. The longer you make that a goal and strive for that, the more you will find that you reach unanimous decisions, because you create a culture in which there is a desire to be like-minded. You table things that you are in strong disagreement on rather than forcing an issue. If it can be tabled so that you have more time to pray and more time for people to work through the issues, then table it. If it's causing that much division at the leadership level, it may very well cause that much division in the church body. And you would do well often to table it, pray it through, come back to it with perhaps cooler minds and a desire for unity in the spirit. Well, that's all I have for today from along the way to you. Please hit like and subscribe. Please, I welcome your questions and your comments. How do you handle board meetings so that they are an enjoyable experience for you? Share that with the comment section. I know others would appreciate it as well. Thank you, and God bless from along the way.